So I used to ask Mum all the time. I'd be like, Mum, how am I going to know when I've met the one? And Mum used to give me the most frustrating answer ever. What is it, Georgia? You'll just know. I used to say, not good enough, Mum. You know what I'm like? I want a good answer. How am I going to know? Mum would say, you'll just know. Do you want to ask me that question now? How, Simon? How will you know when it's the one? I'm going to give you a frustrating answer. You're just going to know. What is the purpose of going on a date with someone? Why do we date? Dating. What is the point of it? If I ask any like standard Catholic audience, any young adult Catholic parish or group like this, or high schools, if I say what is the purpose of a date, the answer I will 99% of the time get is what? What would most people say that the purpose of dating is? Who would like to have a crack? To get married. That's I like that. That's good. Yeah, I love it. I'm not joking.
See if the potential for marriage is there. Potential,
mate. This is a good group. This is an unusually on fire group. Angie, what do most people say? To get to know somebody, right? To which I respond, no. Right? The purpose of dating is not to get to know somebody. That's what friendship is for. The friendship phase is where you get to know somebody. Dating, if you're obviously, now I'm married. I've been married for, it'll be 5 years soon. Am I still getting to know Maddie? Absolutely. I get her wrong a lot and I get her right a lot. I'll get it right, I'll get it wrong. But I'm going to be learning her for the rest of my life. But primarily in that friendship phase, what you're saying, you are learning enough about this person in a friendship phase to see, is this the kind of person that I would like to date? Right? We don't meet somebody and then say, I'm going to go on a date with this person to get to know this person to see if we should be in a relationship together. Right? We've totally we've got it backwards. Right? So what is the purpose of a date with somebody? The purpose of dating, as Viv said and as Hamish said, it is to discern, is God calling me to the sacrament of marriage with this person? That is the purpose of a date, right? Now, I'm gonna guess, right? Who went to a mixed high school, girls and boys, right? Go with Seth. Go with Seth here for this one. Seth, I'm going to guess this is what you did when you wanted to get to know your classmates in year 7. Did you transition primary school, different primary school, to a different high school? Same one? Yeah. Same one? Middle? Oh, okay. All right. Let's say there was a couple of new people that rocked up to the college, right? To get to know these new people, I bet this is what you did. I bet you went up to them, say there were 5 or 6 of them. Seth goes up to him and he goes, hey, you're new to the school, so I would like to have lunch with you tomorrow to really get to know you, to welcome you to the school, to get to know you. And so he spends, the first week or maybe 2 weeks having a one-on-one lunch with all these guys and all these girls, right, whoever it is, and then at the end of those 2 weeks, once he's had almost like a one-on-one date experience with them, he then chooses which one of them he's going to be really good friends with. Is that what you did? No, right? If Seth did that, you'd be like, mate, that's a weird way to go around getting to know people. What did Seth do? Some of those new people, maybe you met some of them straight away. Maybe you didn't talk to some of them for the first few weeks. But what you were just kind of naturally drawn to some of them sooner than others. And even when you did meet all of them, some of them you're not going to get along with as well, and others you're going to get along with really well. But how did you get to know them? Just by doing school life with them, right? You're hanging out at lunchtime, or you got different classes and there's sport at lunch. You're just doing life with those people. For some reason, when it comes to trying to get to know somebody for a romantic relationship though, we switch to that kind of strategy. I don't know why people do it, but that's what they do. They say, oh, okay, so I like this person, so let's go out one-on-one heaps of times to try to get to know each other that way. And it's not normal. We don't do that in any other normal setting. How do we get to know somebody? We just do life with them, right? So if you've just met someone, what do? You're looking for opportunities to initiate places that you can see that person, right? You're inviting them to things, but you're doing it in a group setting because you're trying to see, I want to know, what is this person really like? Because how easy is it for somebody that if you just go out on one-on-one dates with somebody, how easy is it for that person to misrepresent themselves to you, or to not be honest with you, or to fake being somebody they're not? Amen? Who they are right before you pick them up or right before you catch up with them could be very different to the face they put on to impress you. Amen? So they may try to hide their faults, or they might, as we said with the oversharing, they might come out super strong with that. Okay, but they will do that differently. The best way to get to know somebody is to spend time in a friendship with them, in the context of faith, family, and friends. So by me saying, what's the purpose of a date? And if I'm saying the purpose of a date is to discern, is this the person God could be calling me to marry? For a lot of people, that sounds like a very harsh, like that's a serious thing. That means dating is like full on then. To which I would respond, yes. Dating should be a big deal. As a culture, we've made it meaningless. Going on a date, we can date 20 girls in 1 month. We can date, I've heard people say there's nothing wrong with dating multiple people at the same time. But what does that mean? The only way you could date multiple people at the same time is if dating to you is not that important. That is the only way you could do it. And I would also argue that the people you're dating are not that important to you either, because you don't care about their feelings, right? So I remember, I'm not old, this is always burnt in my memory, right? So this guy was sitting at the back of a parish talk I was giving, and I said that I was like, the purpose of dating is to discern marriage with someone. Is God calling you to marry this person? He just stood up and he goes, mate, that is the most rubbish answer I've ever heard. He goes, that would mean, get this, he goes, that would mean you'd have to really know the person you're going on a date with. And I was like, what is the problem with that, mate? I said, yeah, that's exactly right. There should be no such thing as a date that is awkward. You should never go on an awkward date. You should never go on a date with someone that you're not really comfortable with. Because if the purpose of that date is to discern, could God be calling me to marriage with this person? How could you possibly have a real date? So if the purpose of dating is to discern marriage, that would mean you'd have to talk about marriage, wouldn't you? Or about the possibility of marriage. Otherwise, you're not really doing what a date is, are you? Right? So people say to me, how can I go on a date with someone if I'm not ready to talk about... So I'm not ready to talk about marriage with this person. I barely know them. So your definition of dating is too harsh or too strict or too meaningful. But really the answer is no, it's not what a date is that is the problem in your situation. It's that you don't know this person anywhere near enough to date them. Amen? Because if you can't, I'm really like, I'm strict on this, right? I tell men, I say, don't even bother asking a girl out on a date if you're not even going to be talking about about marriage as this possibility that God could be calling you to. Otherwise, what was the point in going on that date with her in the first place? Dating isn't just about having fun and about getting along and seeing how much you can make each other laugh. Okay? You've got plenty of friends who can do that. Dating is something more meaningful, which is why we should be having a lot less of them. Because let's be real, how many people in this room would honestly say that you have met somebody every month that you could honestly say, I feel I could discern marriage with that person? It just doesn't happen. You will not meet that many people that you get along with so well, that stand out so powerfully to you, and that you feel like God is leading you to discern that often. How many dates did I go on? Anybody know? A few of you might know. 1 date with the first girl that I honestly thought God was calling me to discern marriage with, and she was my wife. I knew plenty of great girls. I spent, youth ministry, as I shared last week. I knew the most awesome young women. They were full of virtue, really prayerful. We did youth ministry together. We fed the homeless together. We'd visit, the nursing homes together. I saw a really good side of so many awesome young women. But every time I really prayed about it or prayed about them, I was like, but I don't really feel like God is calling me to discern marriage with them. So I never asked them out. Right? So people used to pick on me, actually, because I was still young. My first date with Maddie, I was about 22, right? I was almost 23. And people used to say to me, I'm not kidding, people used to say, you're all talk. Like, you're up there talking about dating and all this stuff, but you're too scared to ask a girl out. And I'm not joking. Sometimes I was like, Lord, are they right? Like, am I just scared? I was like, well, I really don't think so. I said, because if I felt truly that you were leading me to a young lady in a powerful enough way to discern marriage with them, I think I would ask them out. I said, but I really do not feel that yet. Met Maddie. And within 45 minutes, I was like, I will do anything. Like, I would do anything to risk to make sure that I asked this girl out, because I really, really wanted to like me, right? And so it was so easy. It just flowed out of me to the point, and I'll talk about this more in the last 2 weeks. But it was a constant, like, I was trying so hard to stay in the friendship phase with Maddie longer, just to make it feel like it was real. I was like, I shouldn't be rushing this because I feel like I was so excited about it. But everything about her just felt right. Everything felt perfect. And I was like, so this is what it feels like. Sometimes girls especially will say, I'm starting to give up on there being a guy that just feels different. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, there's a lot of great guys out there, but like, isn't one gonna like hit me harder than the rest? Or is it just gonna be saying yes to another guy because he's a nice bloke, right? I think we all deep down want to feel that, don't we? Like, we want to be like, this feels right as well. Something's different, it's awesome, it's powerful. And I always say, do not give up on that. That desire to feel something special and sacred and different is real. And I think the Lord wants to bless us with that. So I used to ask Mum all the time. I'd be like, Mum, how am I going to know when I've met the one? Anybody ask your mum that? Ever asked Mum that question? No? Yeah? I was pretty close with my mum and dad. I used to drill my mum and dad about love and all this stuff too. I used to always say, how am I going to know? And Mum used to give me the most frustrating answer ever. What is it, Georgia? You'll just know. I used to say, not good enough, Mum. You know what I'm like? I want a good answer. I said, how am I going to know? Mum would say, you'll just know. Do you want to ask me that question now? How, Simon? How will you know when it's the one?
I suspect you're going to give me a very frustrating
I'm going to give you a frustrating answer. You're just going to know. No. But I think truly, it's to a certain extent, it's something that you can't explain. You can only experience it. And sometimes I think when you've met so many great people, but you felt there's that something's missing. It's lacking something. Have you ever wanted to smack yourself because you're like, she's such a good girl or he's such a good guy, but I just can't pretend that I don't feel more for him? Has anybody had that experience? So I remember there were a few girls I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, they're amazing young ladies, but I couldn't pretend that I liked them more than I did. And I used to get frustrated about that. But when I met Maddie, those experiences all made sense, because I felt in her and I found in her what it was I was hoping was real, but didn't find with anybody else. Does that make sense? All right? It was really special.